So we're speaking about the home, we're speaking about residential, and when will the typical homeowner have LED A-lamps throughout their home?
There are too many factors there to answer that question properly, even if we had some vision here. The technical capabilities are there right now, getting better every day. The financial ones are improving, but it's really now legislation, mandates that influence that to a high extent, and also, a lot of the other information out there that the consumer is going to be faced with a tremendous number of decisions. For example, California is mandated by law to have zero energy homes by 2020.
For new construction?
For new construction, yes, but they're also in Title 24, one of those that has reduced the requirement for when you have to start doing that in terms of remodeling. So it's a much lower number now. We can't predict how that legislation or requirement is going to change. And so it's a very difficult question to put your finger on. If we say just from a technology standpoint, we're about there now, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen.
When these standards and requirements start hitting, I mean, take a look at what the public outcry was when they said we got to get rid of this 100-watt light bulb. I mean, and this hue and cry, a huge amount of resistance that actually was effective to some reasonable degree.
It helped education.
Yeah, I found that some of the people were ineducable, but that's something else.
Well, they clamored for information, and so that information was provided by the industry, which came together and provided much more information as those bulb phase-outs came along than they had in a long time, at least to the consumer, and awareness. Yeah.
Mary Beth?
I was going to say, obviously the elimination of some very common light sources, the incandescent A line, are going to force people into other decision points, and we know that not everybody's completely thrilled with CFLs for a variety of reasons, and some of the concerns about mercury content, valid or not. But I think it's probably reasonable that over the next couple of years we probably expect to see maybe 10 to 15% penetration of LEDs into A-line sockets.
Yeah, and we've got a slide there that really validates really where Mary Beth was headed, and it's got residential broken out. So this is a Department of Energy study that was released last year showing the penetration of LEDs by percentage of lumen hours, but think installed base. And you see that residential's a smaller portion than outdoor stationary, for example, the outdoor lights that we've been talking about. But they're saying by 2020 it could be 37% for residential.
Yeah, I was going to say probably about 40%. So that's okay.
Okay, so 37%. You're kind of saying no way. You don't.
I'm saying when it's a six-pack for $9.99, people will buy them. That's
but they're not going to be a six-pack for $9.99 for incandescent, so they're not going to have a choice.
No, I mean for LED.
Right,
The
so
same that's when CFLs like exploded, and even though they're terrible, people actually proliferated and bought gazillions of them. If LED actually performs like incandescent, instant on, warm color, dimmable, etc. I don't know any one of my friends that's dying to run out and pay $15 for a light bulb. Because in the end, it's still the perception.
But they're not going to
be.
They're already on the market for
$9.99
for less.
Yeah. So I think when it's $9.99, when you see that giant drop to a 3-pack for $4.99, you'll see.
So Terry, to your point, we really can't properly answer this question. But let me ask this: in 2020, when the consumer goes wherever he goes or she goes to buy a light bulb, will they buy an LED 60-watt replacement, or will they buy a compact fluorescent 60-watt replacement?
I think they'll buy an LED, but I think there is something we can do, and that is for the next year or so, it's going to be the most interesting time in lighting that I think I've ever experienced, because that's when, of course, starting in January 1st, 2014, the 40 and 60-watt standard incandescent light bulb starts to get phased out. Now, the reason that's important is because 60% of the sockets in consumer use are those lamps. So all of a sudden, we're going to see not only what we've seen in the past, but the products go away that are most widely used. And the big question to me is, what is the consumer going to put into those sockets? And I think the answer to that question is going to keep us all busy through 2014 and 2015 in ways that we can't imagine right now. But change is going to be the constant.
And I have a pile of LED lamps that were the intro price point from Depot, Lowe's, etc. I have a pile of them in my house that have either completely burned out, 20% of their initial lumens. They were, works on all dimmers that burned out in 3 months. So there is going to be, my fear is that we're in the midst of an LED 1.0 where there's going to be a lot of people getting burned with the technology.
But I'll give you a different opinion if I may. We saw that with compact fluorescent.
Oh, yeah.
We all have friends who will never use a compact fluorescent because they used one 10 years ago, it was blue, whatever. I don't see that with LED so much because the price point was relatively high initially. People didn't really try them. Now the price point has come down, and I think we all agree the quality's good, right? The LED light bulbs that I'm buying in a DIY store that people are sending
that's
me.
the pile that I was buying them a year.
Yeah, so you were buying, but a lot of people weren't. You're a lighting geek. You were early adopter.
You got to be dumb to actually have done it.
The people haven't been burned yet.
But it's coming because I have the pile that I bought a year and a half ago that the people are buying now.
But I don't think they are buying now. I think the stuff in the market now is pretty good.
What's out there now in the major big box home centers are products that work very well on dimmers. They have good color. They're $9.99, and we're going to see matching products from some of the other major lamp companies.
Yeah, I don't agree.
And I've had in my own home, I do obviously experiment with LEDs. I have some that run 24/7 in locations where I'd be changing MR16s every 3-4 months, and I've had LEDs in for 2 years that are just have some loss of life, but they are fine. I think, and you're right. A year and a half ago, you could not find those products. Today, you can't. They're there.
It's going to be low-end, poor-performing product. But the big box stores, many of them mandate Energy Star labeling, and you have a criteria there for efficacy and CRI, which put hopefully a better product on the market.
But efficacy and CRI are not tied to longevity and performance and working over the duration.
No, the FTC handles that with the lighting facts label. So you've got a hour rating on your label of what that lamp is supposed to do.
The important thing with Energy Star, and I have recommended this in the residential market, is the warranty itself. So if the lamp fails, the consumer is not left with a $20, $30, $40 bill to replace the lamp. The manufacturer has to replace it, and that is driving the quality.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry, I'm not aware of this.
If you have an Energy Star bulb product, you have to have it warrantied, and you have to replace it if it doesn't meet the requirements of Energy Star.
Major manufacturers will take back products that don't last.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff happens, and nothing's 100%. If anything goes wrong, you get a new one. You get your money back.
And major manufacturers. But a lot of these companies that we've never heard of are coming up. So if they are Energy Star compliant, they have to stand behind it and take it back.
Yes.
Good
Not
to
only
know.
that, they have to
Please.
do a NAV lab test, so it's got to be a certified, accredited lab that does the test for life beforehand. There's a criteria for how the testing is done. And Terry's point on warranty, that's going even further in January with the California LED lamp quality spec, because the warranty on those LEDR lamps, replacement LED lamps, is 5-year minimum if they're going to qualify for a rebate in California after January. So now we're looking at 3 years as Energy Star. They'll probably change it at some point, but now
They've got competition.
we're promising LEDs are going to last longer, so now you're starting to see the warranties put in as mandatory.
Charlie?
What we're seeing out there is there are good products. Again, we call it second generation, but let's get away from the residential where you buy at the Home Depots and all those places like that. But if you, particularly big box stores, they're moving to LEDs for all their power application, for the MR16 application, even low wattage metal halide. So they are viable products over there. We haven't seen a lot of problems.